If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. When you do, make sure you hit the notification bell. That means that you will be informed of when a new video has been released. If you would like to take that support one step further, you can do that via Patreon, which is an optional monthly service. You can donate money towards the channel, or you can go over to Ko-fi.com, and for the price of a coffee you can help donate towards the channel as well. Links for all of those will be in the description of the video, and without further ado, enjoy the video. Hello and welcome to Football Coaching 101, hosted by James and Adam from the Non-League Nosh, presented by James Bloomfield, football coach in non-league football, the series in which we will be introducing you to coaches from the professional game, gaining their insight and knowledge into the beautiful game that we love. So sit back and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Football Coaching 101. My name is James and I'm delighted to be joined by the throwing coach of current Champions League holders Liverpool, Thomas Gronnemark. Thanks for joining me, Thomas.
You're welcome, James.
I'm going to go right back to the start in terms of sport for you, rather than going straight into your role. I'm excited to look at how that progressed for you and how things sort of worked into that. So as an athlete, I've got here that you were a Danish athlete. I want to know when that started for you. So when did athletics start for you? Was it a very young age, or was it something you developed into later?
I'll actually go a little bit longer back, because I've actually been playing football myself for 15 years. I reached the highest youth level in Denmark, U19, and also played against great players like Thomas Gronnemark, for example, who later played in Real Madrid and Celtic and other clubs. So, but as a kid, I started with playing football. I was 5 years old, and a little bit later, I saw my big cousins, Bent and Johnny, doing really long throwing. So I really admired that. So I did that a lot as a teenager myself. It became one of my specialties or strengths. But I was also very fast on the pitch. I've never lost a running duel, no matter if it was 10 meters or 50 meters on the pitch. So it meant that in my late teens, I realized, even though I was a pretty good football player, I couldn't be a pro. So I decided to go to athletics. And already the first year I was training, I came on the Danish national athletics team. And I was running 100, 200, 400 meters, also relays. And yeah, it was pretty successful period in these 6 years. All 6 years I was on the Danish national team. I was several-time Danish champion. The best result for me and my team was in 2000 in Paris, where me and my club team, Aarhus 1900, we were winning the European Championship in 4x400 meter relay. I ran the last leg, so that was pretty cool. But in 2002, I've never been better. I've just been setting personal records on 100 and 200 meters, still on the national team. But I had lost my motivation, because I've been moving to a little town in Denmark called Skive, in the western part of Denmark. And it was because I met my wife, and sometimes you do stupid things because you're in love. So, but I was suddenly training alone instead of a big athletics group, and it was becoming just numbers on a paper. So I had to find a new sport, and it had to be a team sport, because I loved the team thing from football back in the days. So in 2002, I came on the Danish national bobsleigh team. We were traveling all around the world, all Europe, but also Canada, the States, and yeah, bobsleigh, that's a totally crazy sport. You're normally driving between 130 to 150 kilometers per hour, and sometimes you're crashing too. So you have to be, I think, a special person to be a bobsleigh driver or be on a bobsleigh team. But I think that it's an amazing sport if you can do it. I think it's really an opportunity to get a lot of good relations to your teammates and the work joy and teamwork, and so that's just amazing on a bobsleigh team. And it was actually in the middle of that bobsleigh period in 2004 where I thought, hey, if I can make a good throw in myself when I was a football player, couldn't I coach football players in doing better throwing? So directly after a bobsleigh trip, I went down to my local library and yeah, tried to find a book about throw-ins, but there were no books at all, and there was nothing serious on the internet. So yeah, I had to make a throwing course myself, and I used approximately 6 months, and I was video analyzing myself with how does the hip work, what with your grip, how can you make the perfect running, everything. And then I had to find a football team I could coach, because to be honest, I didn't really know if it would work. So I could have been starting with the amateur team or youth team, but I had the courage to ask a local Super League team in Denmark called Viborg, and they said yes, and they scored a lot of goals after throw-in situations. They improved their throw-ins a lot, and so that was a big success already from the first team. And the season after, the 2005-06 season, I coached FC Midtjylland. That was an even better team in Denmark. Yeah, so since 2004, I've been a professional throwing coach, and yeah, right now I'm coaching football teams all over the world.
Perfect. That's an incredible journey to go from where you were as an athlete. Do you think it was the strong mentality and that sort of team ethic that you that must have been ingrained in you already, because you mentioned it as part of the bobsleigh team, you wanted to be part of a team, and you enjoyed doing it together, and that sort of, you mentioned the words like joy and the happiness of doing it as a team. Do you think that's part of the reason that you wanted to get into sort of an elite level of football? Do you think that was already in you, that sort of elite mindset to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things who made me become a throwing coach, the only throwing coach in the world. And first of all, all my life I've been passionate about throw-ins. So I'm thinking about throw-ins every day, every hour. I'm dreaming about throw-ins, and that's been the way it's been since I was a kid. So I have a gigantic passion for throw-ins. For me, it's not like a 3 months focus or so. It's my entire life. Then the second thing is, of course, I have my own experience from football, and I think that's a really big advantage. If you want to learn football players some things that you have been playing football yourself, then I have a lot of knowledge around movements and so from athletics. Then I had with the bobsleigh team, as you say yourself, it's not only the strong mentality and teamwork and everything, but it's also things like being innovative, thinking about new things in new ways. We did that a lot on the bobsleigh team, but we also used a lot of video analysis. We were doing several thousand video analysis per year of our bobsleigh start and also down the track. So I had that too. And then I put on other things. For example, I've been playing a lot of street basketball in my life, and I'm using basketball a lot when I'm coaching teams all around the world, because a lot of people thinks, oh, when he's coaching throw-ins, it's all about long throw-ins. Of course, I'm coaching the players to throw longer, but most of my time it's about creating space so we can keep possession or create chances or score goals. So I think there's been a lot of different things who've influenced on that I was a throwing coach. So and I think that's important aspect in life too. If you want to do something, instead of just going on a narrow road and just going one way, I think it could be useful to go to the left and the right direction to pick up knowledge and inspiration. So that's really what I'm trying to do in my life as a throwing coach.
Do you think each time you achieve something, it makes you want more? Because you mentioned setting all the way back sort of 2002, setting 100-meter and 200-meter records. Do you feel like once you've sort of set them records, that your mind, because of the way you are, wants to move on from that then? And you think, I've done that now. I need something more. And then you move on to the bobsleigh team. And then once you've sort of had some success in there, is that how your mind works? Are you then thinking, right, what I need more now because you've ticked it off?
No, I don't think so, because when I'm hearing about a lot of athletes and coaches, they're really like some have like a perfectionism mindset, or they just want to win everything. I have a whole nother approach. I'm looking like more like from a philosophical angle or creative angle about getting ideas, learning new things and everything. So I think the main reason is that I'm curious and I want to develop things. So I'm actually not you might think that he's like a great winner who can't stand to lose. And so, I've never been like that. Of course, I love to win. That's another thing. But even though I've been a European champion in athletics, being in the world top level in bobsleighing, setting a world record at the throw-ins, coaching Liverpool FC, winning the Champions League. I've never been like this winner type. I just have to. So I think I try to find motivation from other places in the world, and the reasons why I'm carried out to other things in my life. It's, for example, from athletics to bobsleighing. That was mostly because of the social aspects, because I just love to be together with other people and do amazing stuff. So it was not so much that I had to achieve something. Of course, our big goal in bobsleighing was to qualify for the Olympics in Turin in 2006. So we had something together. So it's not like I won't win, but it's more like I just love to see new things, and I love to be creative and everything. So one of my the things I'm saying is that life is a big buffet, and just eat everything you can. You can also say, if I'm traveling to Liverpool, I've done that a lot, or traveling to Florida with Atlanta United here in January, or going to Ghent in Belgium, I'm also coaching them. Of course, I'm using time to prepare my training, analyze games and so, but I'm also using a lot of times on architecture, museums, nature, seeing everything. So that's my biggest dream. Of course, my biggest dream is to help people being better, especially with the throw-ins, but I think I have a different perspective to life and my coaching compared to many other people in this business.
Yeah, I think, like you say, if you've got that mentality that it's a learning experience, and every step of the way you're wanting to learn different things from different types of people and different sport, and as you say, you're interested in music, the culture, and really exploring the areas, I think that sort of reduces your chance of sort of seeing failure, because there's always success in some way. So I think that probably helps you keep a really strong positive mindset, because no matter what happens, you've been able to go and help people and influence, and then at the same time you've maybe seen a new part of the world, and you've added another thing to your story as such. So no, it's really fascinating to hear that. When you decided that you wanted to get into coaching throw-ins, did you realize how deep you wanted to go into it in terms of the scientific side and looking at body movements and that kind of thing? Did you realize sort of how deep you were going to have to go, or was that a sort of learning experience as you went?
Yeah, first of all, I think I realized that with the long throw-ins, because I've always been interested in movements, but also things like video analysis. And so I was already from the start, I already knew that it was really complex, or it could be complex. And if I learned that complexity, that it would work this way. So, but I didn't realize that I would go on to work with throw-ins all over the pitch. And it actually came as I don't know if I will say coincidence, but yeah, I started as a long throwing coach in 2004, and I think it was in 2008, so 12 years ago, when I was analyzing long throw-ins in a match. And even though if you have a team who's really going into long throw-ins, there are only perhaps 10 or 12 opportunities in a game maximum. So I was watching the game just all the other minutes, and then suddenly we had a throw in the middle of the pitch. And then we lost the ball possession there, and I thought, hey, that was bad. It wasn't really a good throw in. And then we lost the next one, and then the next one, so 3 in a row. And then I thought, hey, I only thought it was in the youth leagues and amateur leagues. They were so bad at the throw-ins. And then I started doing analysis of every team I could see on television, also internationally. And I realized that most teams had possession in under 50% of the occasions when they had a throw-in under pressure, where the players are marked. So I thought, hey, that was really bad. Here we really have a chance of improvement, not only for teams who want to do long throw-ins, but all teams in the world. So in 2008, I started with my long, fast and clever throw-in philosophy. So I made that, and I was beginning to researching how can we create space all over the pitch, so we can either keep the ball or create chances or score goals after throw-ins all over the pitch, not only in the final third, but all over the pitch. So I was really like, it was getting from, I won't say that long throwing coaching is simple. Of course, it's complex, but it's still much less simple than the long, fast, and clever throw-in philosophy. If you want to include all throw-ins in the matches, both attacking and defending throw-ins. So I was working on that, and I was really positive because I thought, hey, now all clubs wanted my knowledge now in the world, and it's only a matter of a short time. Then people, coaches, the clubs will come directly to me and ask for my help. So I was really positive in the 2008, 9, 10 years. But the challenge was that no one really wanted my knowledge around the fast and clever throw-ins. They only wanted my knowledge around the long throw-ins. And yes, it was still a success. For example, not this season, but the last 4 seasons, FC Midtjylland have scored 35 goals after long throw-ins. So that's really big success. I've coached them for many years. In one season, I think it was the 16-17 season, we in AC Horsens, a team I coached, they scored 10 goals after the long throw-ins. So yes, you can get success from long throw-ins if you're a big, strong, and physical team. But my challenge was that no one wanted my knowledge around the fast and clever throw-ins, only the long throw-ins. And for example, I had 2 seasons in Brentford FC, and I'll start by saying, fantastic club, fantastic people. I just loved to be there. I was really welcomed, and for sure, if they invite me again another time, I'll probably say yes, because I love the people there. But the challenge in Brentford was that they only wanted my knowledge around the long throw-ins, and it was actually at that time when I was in Brentford, they were the smallest team in the championship. So that was a little bit crazy. And the last thing we said in my 2 seasons, that next time I would come to the club, I will learn them that, but I never came back. So I was, on one hand, I had like gigantic success with the long throw-ins, especially in the Danish Superliga. But on the other hand, I was really frustrated because I had this, gigantic system. I had this knowledge. At that time, I had worked on the long, fast, and clever throw-ins for 10 years approximately. So I've been sitting in my cave and had so much knowledge, but I couldn't really help the clubs because the clubs didn't want it. They only want the long throw-in. So until July 2018, where Jurgen Klopp called, I was pretty frustrated with my situation.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to move on from where you just said. You got the call from Jurgen Klopp. I've read a bit about the story, but for listeners that haven't looked into it, how did that come about? Can you tell me the story of receiving that call? Where were you, and how was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, to be honest, it's a totally crazy story. I was doing a summer ride with my family. I have a wife and 2 kids. We were heading to a chocolate shop in the countryside, and just before we went into the chocolate shop, I looked at my phone. It wasn't turned on, so I just turned it on, and I could see there was a +44 number who has been calling. And for those of you who don't know, it's the country code for England. So, but I thought it was just a salesman selling me some pens or something. So I listened to the voicemail, and then it was Jurgen Klopp from Liverpool FC. And if I hadn't been sitting in the car seat, I would probably been falling over, because I was totally in shock. My big dream has always been to coach in the Premier League, and especially a big club like Liverpool FC. So I tried to call him back, but he didn't answer. So I went into the chocolate shop with my family, and when we came back, I thought, hey, better take a ride home to myself to take perhaps the most important call ever in my life. So I was driving the car, my wife sitting beside me, the kids in the back, and then suddenly the phone rang, and my wife picked the phone up, and she said, "It's Jurgen." And then I just took the car and drove directly to the right into a grass field, and I took the phone and picked up the phone, and it was Jurgen Klopp, and he said, "Hi Thomas, yeah, we had a fantastic season in the 2017-18 season with a 4th place in the Premier League and Champions League final, but we lost the ball almost every time when we had a throw-in. So yeah, then I read an article about you in the German newspaper Bild that said that you were a throwing coach. So perhaps you can help us." So Jurgen Klopp invited me to a meeting at Melwood, Liverpool's training ground, a week after. Yeah, it was a fantastic meeting, and it should only been a meeting in the first place. But Jurgen Klopp was so convinced that already the day after I had the chance to coach 21 of the Premier League players. And it was all the players who weren't injured or at vacation after the World Cup. So yeah, since July 2018, I've been coaching Liverpool FC in the long, the fast, and the clever throw-in philosophy. And of course, it's been like a dream for me. Of course, not only because we've been winning the Champions League, the World Championship for club teams, looking good with Premier League this season, but it's just been amazing to work with this group of people, this club, Jurgen Klopp, all the other coaches, yeah, the club itself. So I've had 2 years in heaven, and not only has it opened up a lot of things in Liverpool FC. Not only have Liverpool FC improved a lot on the throw-ins, but it's also opened up the whole world for me. So this season I'm coaching 8 different clubs. It's clubs like Liverpool FC, Ajax from Holland, Ghent from Belgium, FC Midtjylland from Denmark, Atlanta United from MLS in the States. And there's just been a lot of interest in my coaching. I'm writing on a book, so people from all over the world are asking, when is the book published? And so there's just been so much attention. So I'm just happy that I can inspire not only the clubs I'm coaching in, but also a lot of other clubs in the world. People are writing me every day to thank me for the new focus on throwing. So I'm just happy to contribute to the positive development of football.
That's incredible. I honestly think if the phone was ringing, it was Jurgen Klopp, I probably would think it's a prank call. So that's amazing story, especially like you say, when you'd achieved what you had done, it was probably about time that you had a phone call like that to go into a club like that. And I'd be silly not to ask about Jurgen Klopp a little bit deeper. How is he? You hear a lot and you see a lot on TV, but sort of from an inside view, how is he as a person and as a coach?
I'll say he's not the way you see him on TV. He's much better. And some people might think, how is that possible? Yes, first of all, he's like of course he's funny, he's clever, he's fantastic to be with. But when you see him on media, social media or media in general, you don't see that he's actually also a very good listener. He's also a guy who can really bring people together. And I think that's one of the secrets of Liverpool's success, is that it's not only a world class club that's working hard and doing everything, but it's also a club where innovation and new ideas are really having a good time. Because to be innovative, it's not only about getting new ideas and science and analysis, but it's also, I think, a big thing, if you have to look at innovation, that you have a lot of good relations between people, that you're willing to share your ideas and share your knowledge, that you're a really good listener. Because if you're only talking about yourself and how you can change the world, then it's really hard to transfer knowledge between people. So back to Jurgen, he's just a fantastic man to work with. He could have easily said to me when I was coming to Liverpool that, okay, I know that we didn't do well in the throw-ins, but hey, listen now what we've done with the throw-ins. If you can do approximately the same, but just put your touch to it, then it could be perfect. He could have been saying that, because of course he's a world-class coach. It's in a world-class club, but Jurgen Klopp just said, you just learn us everything around the throw-ins, because I'm 100% sure you can help us. So I think that's one of the secrets behind not only a successful club, but also being innovative. So again, back to Jurgen, I think he's not only funny and clever and ambitious, but he's also a fantastic man who's also listening to other people. I really love that to have conversations with people where it's approximately a 50-50 conversation. Of course, we can't talk precisely 50% of the time, but if you have a conversation where it's approximately 50-50, 60-40, 70-30 or so, then you have a really good chance of sharing knowledge. And so, but if you're in a conversation where one is talking 95% of the time and the other one is talking 5% or 98-2, then there'll only be knowledge one way. So again, I can talk for several hours about all the good things there are with Jurgen Klopp and his personality, but he's just I think fantastic manager who has the perfect balance between making the players and the staff having a good time, but also working 100% serious. So Jurgen is a fantastic guy.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, we see what we see on TV and we see what we see in the media. And I think those of us that are really into football and the coaches listening will be aware that'll only be sort of one part of the story. It does baffle me if he's always as happy as we see him on TV. I'd be very surprised, but definitely, like you say, the human qualities again are shining through of being a good listener. You've gone into him being a good coach, and of course he must be for them to be up there, but you've put sort of at the top of the list, and the things you mentioned most were all human qualities, so just life traits. So it's fantastic to hear that about someone, even at the top of their game, that doesn't have to give you the time. They don't have to listen, but they choose to, because that's what makes them as good as they are. I'm going to ask a couple of questions about the throw-ins. So many people in the Premier League will remember Rory Delap, for example. And he's probably one of, if not the only one, that comes to the top of our mind when we talk about taking a long throw-in, which of course is only just one type.
Yeah.
Is it something that can be developed, or is it strength, or is it technique?
Yeah, as you mentioned yourself, it's only a pretty small part of my long, fast and clever throwing philosophy. But the long throwing, it can be developed. When I'm coaching the long throwing, I'm focusing on 30 different technical aspects, and I'm also using video analysis. Most players, they're improving between 5 and 10 meters when they're coaching with me in a period, and some players up to 15 meters. For example, I had a guy from FC Midtjylland, Andreas Paulsen. He's now sold to Borussia Mönchengladbach. He started out with 24.25 in a test before my throwing coaching. Then he's been improving to 37.90, so almost 14 meters, 13 meters and 65. So you can do that. Of course, it's very special from player to player. How can they improve? They also have different physical abilities. It's only I'm primarily doing technical training because I don't want any player to gain 5 kilos of muscles, because it's also like do something about their mobility and so. But and again, I'll say, if I have to choose between strength and flexibility, I'll choose flexibility every day, because a lot of people think, oh, you have to be really strong, big muscles. But actually, if you have too big muscles, you're often, not every time, but often unflexible, and it means that you have a shorter work way. And the longer work way you have, the more power you can put on the ball. But to take different types, I'll say that I often see tall people with long arms throw far. I often see people who are flexible, especially in this shoulder joint, that can throw far. I also often see fast players with fast muscle fibers who can throw far. And then there are the fourth type, and that's like all other types, because you can't count out anyone, because I see a lot of with normal body building, building of body, who can throw really far because they are really like learning the technique the right way. So I'll say that most players can be either good long throwers or world class with the right training. So, but it's also important for me to say that the long throwing, that's really important in every club and for every player, especially fullbacks and wingers. And why? Yes, because we are not doing any long throw-ins towards the opponent's goal in clubs like Liverpool and Ajax. But it's really important to have as long throwing as possible, because the longer throwing you have, the greater throwing area you have. And imagine you're standing in the middle of the pitch, then you can throw in 180 degree, and if you have a longer throw in, then you can throw to more teammates. But if you turn the other way around, then you can say, if you have a short throw in, then it's really easy for the opponent to put pressure on you. And for example, Andy Robertson from Liverpool FC, he started out with a throw in of 19 meters. And as a left fullback, it's really, really, really short to throw 19 meters. So it meant that every time Liverpool had a throw in the left side, or most of the time when he took it, it was really easy for the opponents to put on pressure, because he couldn't throw it very far. But Andy Robertson has until now improved his throwing to 27 meters and improved his throwing area with more than 500 square meters. So even though Andy Robertson will never throw as far as Joe Gomez, he's been throwing 720, then it's really, really big advantage for Andy Robertson, because he can throw to many more players. So and on top of that, we can come to the fast and clever throw-ins later. But on top of that, he can put on his precision and ability to see space created. And so the long throwing is really important, no matter what type of football player you are, and of course especially important if you're a fullback or a winger who takes the most throw-ins. So but again, you can learn to throw longer with my techniques. And of course, right now perhaps it sounds like, okay, 30 different technical aspects, that's totally complex. But I'll also say that of course I'm not learning 30 different things to all players in the first session. Normally I'm learning them 5 or 6 different general things in the first session, and then with video analysis, I'm looking at what kind of aspects does this individual player have to improve. So, but again, people, no matter if you're a coach or player, you can learn my 30 different technical aspects in my book later on, or if you invite me to your club. So I think it's really important to make the players throw as far as possible. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting to hear how it's not only, I mentioned Rory Delap, and that will always get a certain reaction because it's being thrown from the sideline all the way almost into the opposition's goal. But like you say, it's about so much more than that. And you talk about fullbacks. It's interesting to hear you talk about fullbacks being able to have that wider range. So it's more about, it's not always forward. It can be sideways and backwards, especially at clubs like Ajax and Liverpool and the way they play. Liverpool probably more forward and Ajax probably more inside and even backwards. because possession is probably more important to them. So that was going to be a question. Do you think different clubs would use it differently? So if you go into an Ajax, do you have to coach it one way? And if you go into a Liverpool, slightly different? Or do you think all three, so taking a fast, long, all clever, do you think everything fits into that?
I think it fits into every club, but I'll also say that I'm really, from club to club, I'm really focusing on fitting my training into the club's playing style, but also speaking a lot with the coaches, assistant coaches, and so I'll say when I'm coming to a club, it's my coaching is perhaps 70-80% the same from club to club, but then the last 20-30% I really fit the last percentages into their playing style and what they can do with the throwing coaching. So I think that's really important. I like to explain what it is with the fast and clever throw-ins.
Yeah, please.
Because perhaps some people think that, well, what is that? But again, the long, fast and clever throw-in philosophy is, as I mentioned before, to make the players throw longer. But the fast, clever throw-in philosophy is, first of all, how can we mark the opponents when they have a throw-in fast? You can't just say to your players, mark the opponents, because it's all about body language, communication, different kinds of pressure. And so then fast throw-ins is also about throwing the ball fast. Sometimes it can be a really good thing to throw the ball fast, but sometimes it can also be the worst thing to do if you're throwing the ball into a pressure zone. So that's what I'm learning the players to do. And then the third part of the fast throwing is counter-attack throw-ins. You can't be offside in the throw-in, so not in every situation, but in some situations you can use the back room to make dangerous situations. And it's not about just saying, oh, try to use the back room, but it's also about making the right running patterns and so. And then we have the clever throw-ins. That's about how can we create space when we have a throw-in under pressure where the players are marked all over the pitch. And I'm working with 3 different zones on the pitch, the defending, middle, and attacking zone. And then I'm having 40 to 50 different throw-in tools. I have 10, 12, 15 tools in each zone. And it's not like an American, a playbook from American football, like we're just doing one thing and then we're going all in on that. No, I'm learning the players to improve their throw-in intelligence so they can make really good decisions. So, for example, if we have a throw-in in the middle of the pitch, we're trying to create space in the near area around the thrower. And if we can't do that because the opponents are marking us in somewhere we don't think there is the right space, then we know that we can create space, for example, in the middle of the pitch somewhere in different situations, or down the line, or a little bit more towards the opponent's penalty area, or for our own central defenders or so. So in my coaching, I'm improving the players' throwing intelligence. On top of that, I'm also working with special assignments for each player, because some players are good with the first touch, some players are good at protecting the ball, some players are fast, some players are good space creators. So we're doing that, and then on top of all of that, the players are using their own creativity and intelligence, and ideas. So we actually have, for example, in Liverpool, millions of options when we have a throw-in situation. What a lot of people have been thinking the last couple of years, and that's totally wrong, is that, okay, now Liverpool scored that goal against Wolverhampton or Tottenham, and they made this player run there, and this player run there, and this player run there, and this player run there. So if you do the same, you can do the same as Liverpool do. No, that's not the way I'm working. I'm working with learning with players general stuff like throwing longer, throwing more precise, and then the basic space creation, tracking the opponents and everything, the different tools and the different options, the strengths of their teammates, and so. And then with all this knowledge, with the raised throwing intelligence, then the players are taking their own decisions. Of course, in a few occasions, we like say, now we try to do this, but most of the times it's the players themselves who decide it. But they can't decide it if they don't have the training and the knowledge from the basic. So I think if you're trying to learn the players You run there, you run there, you run there. Of course, I won't say that it can't happen, but it's much more dangerous to raise the player's general throwing intelligence with a lot of different options, because then it's way harder to mark instead of just having one system in a playbook. So that's the way I'm working in not only Liverpool FC but also in the other clubs, and it has worked. For example, this season we scored 13 goals after throw-in situations all over the pitch. It's not only the final third, but also from throw-ins from our own penalty area, or throw-ins that the opponent had with certain kind of pressure. We also improved our throw-in possession. For example, in the 17-18 season, before I came to the club, Liverpool had a possession on 45.4% possession on throw-ins under pressure. And Liverpool were number 18 out of 20 in the Premier League. But in my first season, the 18-19 season, we improved to 68.4% possession on throw-ins under pressure, and went from number 18 in the Premier League to number 1 in the Premier League, and also to number 2 in Europe, just after one of my other clubs, FC Midtjylland. So you can both, with my long, fast and clever throw-in philosophy, you can both improve your possession, your control, but you can also create more chances and score more goals, but also prevent the opponents to score goals after their throw-in. So you can do a lot with my throwing coaching.
That's incredible. I think to hear that it can be used to help defend and attack, and have all those different ways of doing things, and it's not like you say, and like I've said before, it's far more than just how to take a long throw in and improve it. That's probably what split. Where would you say the split is in terms of, because it doesn't sound like it's 33 ... percent on long, smart, and clever. Would you say is it more fast, more clever, more long? Where do you find that the balance is?
Okay, let's say that in most of my clubs, and that's, let's say, 90% of my clubs, I have focused on the long throw-ins just in the start of the work with the clubs. In clubs like Liverpool and Ajax, I have 6 to 7 visits per season, with 2 or 3 training days per visit. And when I'm starting in a club, I'm focusing on the long throw-ins, how to throw further, how to throw more precise, but also general space creation, and how to throw fast the right way, so perhaps in just the first couple of visits, the long throwing has perhaps a 30% focus. But when I'm going after the first couple of visits, the long throwing is I'm only focusing on the long throwing for in I don't know, 5% of the training or so. The rest is the 95% is the fast and clever throw-ins. Of course, it's another thing if in some clubs I'm only having 3 or 4 visits per season, and in some clubs I'm also just having inspirational visit, just coming once for 2 or 3 days. So and of course they'll in an inspirational visit there'll perhaps be 10% focus on the long throw-ins, and then 90% focus on the fast and clever throw-in. So in most clubs I have much more focus on the fast and clever throw-ins, because it can give much better results. In a few clubs, if it's a club who's really a big club with big players, strong players, tall players, are really focused on the set piece, I'm focusing a bit more on the long throw-ins, because if you want to do a lot of long throw-ins, so then you have to do some tactical things with the long throw-in too, and a little bit more focus on the long throw-in technique for players. But if you ask me, I prefer to work like I do in Ajax and Liverpool and Ghent, Atlanta United, where I focus on the fast and clever throw-ins 90-95% of the time. So that's the way it is.
Yeah, you mentioned the sort of the tactical side of it, and a lot of people, when they think of throw-ins, think of the thrower and the person throwing the ball, of course. How much work do you do, or are you allowed to work with the players on everything around the throw? Do you work with where players move and the movement and the non-throwers, for example?
Yeah, I use most of the time to work with the non-thrower, so I'm working with all the players. Some people think it's only the fullbacks. Of course, in a few occasions, I have some fullback specific things with the throw-ins. Of course, I have that, but most of the times I'm working with all the players. It could either be in small groups or bigger groups. For example, I could have, let's just say, 9 players. Then we're having 4 versus 4 with a thrower or with a secret thrower, and I have them for 25 minutes. Then I have after that the next 9 players doing the same. It could also be interval game on a narrow pitch with big goals and goalkeepers. And with the narrow pitch, we have a lot of throw-ins. We're like doing our general space creation, but also my throw-in tools. And then after 2 minutes, we are shifting. That's high intensity. Then we're shifting. Then there are 2 more teams of 5. So that's like that's a drill for 22 players here. It could also be 11 versus 11 on a big pitch, full intensity. Then we're perhaps taking 5 throw-ins in each of the 3 zones, so 15 in all, trying to work with full intensity and play it out, create chances and score goals. So most of the time I'm coaching many players. So but no matter what, it's always talk through with the manager, talk through with the assistant coaches, the physical coaches with intensity. And so I'm also working a lot with the analysis people. For example, in Liverpool and Ajax, I'm analyzing every match for the throw-ins, getting files with the throw-ins, and then sending throw-in analysis back to, for example, Jurgen Klopp or Erik ten Hag, and there are normally between 40 to 60 throw-ins in a match. So it's a lot of situations. In other clubs, for example, like Ghent, I'm only doing a little bit throw-in analysis. And for example, if I'm having an inspirational visit to a club somewhere in the world, I could also like do a little bit throw-in analysis of the clubs or the team's games to present in a talk around the long, fast, and clever throw-in. So I'm using a lot of time to really put on the right drills. And of course, in the teams or the clubs where I'm doing a lot of video analysis, I know precisely what we can improve, not only for the individual, but especially for the team itself. So again, back to a question. Most of the times I'm coaching either many players at the time or all players, and the main focus in my training is space creation. So how should or how can the players move to create space?
Perfect. I have to ask you, how does it feel to be a coach that's been involved in lifting the Champions League so soon after joining a club like Liverpool? I've seen you smile there already.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. It's like a dream come true, and I'll say almost every day I'm thinking, is this real? I'm pinching my arm often, and yeah, it's just totally crazy that I'm just so happy that this has happened, that I've been able to help Liverpool FC to get the Champions League. Hopefully the Premier League this year. Let's see. So I'm happy to be helping not only Liverpool but also all the other clubs. But I'm also happy to be able to be in a position where I can change the football world, because right now throw-ins are just horrible, not only at professional level but also in youth and amateur level. And my dream is that with my knowledge, also through my books and courses here later on in the future, that I can inspire coaches from all over the world. But again, it's totally crazy. Right now it's not only crazy on a normal level, but especially the first 2-3 weeks after I joined Liverpool. It was really special, because I don't know if I think all of you listening here know the feeling of dreaming something fantastic at night, then waking up and then realizing it's a dream. And I had the same around Liverpool the first 2 or 3 weeks after I signed with Liverpool, because I was dreaming at night that I was coaching Liverpool FC in the throw-ins, and then I woke up in the morning and then I just thought, hey, it's only a dream. I was really disappointed, and then I realized it was real. So it was really messing up my brain. But it can't be any better for me. I'm just also happy for my family because they supported me a lot. It's I also owe them a lot of thanks because they really supported me through my whole life. And so everything is fantastic. So I'm just really happy.
Brilliant. And last two, I've got two more questions to wrap things up. I've really appreciated everything you've given me already so far through this, and I know lots of people will take so much from it. I want your opinions or your thoughts on how things are at the moment, sort of our return to football. So the Bundesliga is now getting underway. How's that been for you in terms of, has there been much communication with clubs, with sort of Liverpool, for example? How are you feeling about it? Has it been a struggle for you? Because it's been really tough for everybody.
Yeah, I'm just relaxing. I haven't really done any work with any of my clubs because they haven't really been training, so I can't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been focusing most of my time on I've made a brand new homepage, thomasgronnemark.com. I use a lot of energy on that. Still writing on my throw-in book about the long, fast, and clever throw-in philosophy at the moment. I've been doing a lot of interviews, and then I'm just trying to be calm here in Denmark. I'm living and coming from Denmark, and here we are really much under the corona curve, as we say it. So we don't have many affected in Denmark. We don't have a lot of deaths after the coronavirus. So we are opening up society now. And again, with the German Bundesliga, it's a little bit the same with Denmark. As Denmark, I think they actually have even less affected and death in Germany. So of course, football will I think continue a little bit sooner in the countries where there aren't so many people affected by the coronavirus. So, but of course, I hope, like every other football interested person, that we are getting the games back again, the training back again in different countries. Of course, I hope that we can start again in Liverpool too. So it could be totally cool to play the last games here. I know that nothing is like 100% decided, but even though without any spectators it's not the same, I'll still prefer that instead of just voiding the season or so. So let's see what happens. And I also say I don't know what will happen for me next season. I'm a freelance throwing coach. Every summer I'm like free agent, so I'm talking with clubs. I don't know where I'll be in the next season. Perhaps I'm coaching 5 pro teams. Perhaps I'm coaching 15 pro teams. I don't know where I'll be all around the world. Of course, it could be cool to continue in Liverpool FC, but we have to talk. It's like everyone else in football. We have to sign a contract. There has been other clubs also from the Premier League, also from the top of the Premier League, who have been interested in signing me. So let's see where it all goes. I'm just relaxing right now, trying to prepare myself not only for the coaching in the next season, but also for my books and coming online courses and so yeah, relaxing with my family here in Denmark.
Perfect. And again, last question, which is really recapping on the little bit you mentioned there on your website and things. So all coaches listening could be ranging from in the professional game, professional clubs and managers. They could be in academy football, or they could be in amateur non-league football or grassroots youth football. So how can they sort of be helped by Thomas Gronnemark, the throwing coach? How can they find you online and the courses? Just talk to me finally about that before we finish.
Yeah, I'll say first of all, it's really good to like connect with me on social media. For example, I have a YouTube channel. You can just search my name, then you'll find it. Also with some free videos you can use as a grassroots or youth amateur coach too. Then connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram. I also have a Facebook group you can join. So there's a lot of opportunities to connect with me. Then I'll say my best advice is to go to my new homepage, thomasgronnemark.com, and read about my throwing coaching, my coming book, coming online courses, and then perhaps sign up to my newsletter, because then you'll be the first to know when the book is out. I'll promise you that in my book and courses, I'll give a lot of value to youth, amateur, grassroots coaches, because I've been as a throwing coach, I've been coaching a lot of youth and amateur clubs here in Denmark. So I really know the difference between being a pro coach and then being amateur or youth coach. Some people might think that, if you have to be improve your throw-ins as a coach, you have to do like Liverpool, coach a lot of days and using a lot of time. No, you can improve your team's throwing ability in just 15 to 20 minutes per week if you're doing the right drills. You can also, it's not like normal set piece training. You have to take one throw in, then wait 5 minutes and take another one, put every player up. No, my throwing coaching, most of the coaching is integrated in normal football playing. So the players won't, of course, you have to tell them we are focused on throw-ins and so on, but it's the same feeling like normal football training, with passes, with shooting on goals, goalkeepers saving, scoring on small goals with cones or something like that. So I'll really say, no matter if you're a youth or amateur coach, you can really improve your team's throwing skills. And I'll say, of course, it's really subjective because I'm a throwing coach myself, but I'll say if you have to improve one area that can mean the most to you, it's to improve your throw-ins, because throw-ins, the level of throw-ins are just so bad in world football, not only in pro but also amateur and youth football. So if you have to do something, focus on your throw-ins, and I'll do my best to help with the book in the future.
Perfect. And again, Thomas, thanks so much for giving me so much of your time this morning. I'm glad to hear that you're well, first and foremost, during what's going on at the moment. Hear about your success from the start of your athletic career all the way through to now. It's amazing to hear from someone. And I can only say thanks for giving me and everyone listening so much of your time.
You are absolutely welcome.
Thank you very much. So if you have enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as I have, having the conversation, please do follow Football Coaching 101 on social medias and search Non-League NOS to hear stories and experiences of players and coaches from non-league all the way up to the top of the professional game. Thanks for listening.